Consent. Consent, a topic we often hear about in criminal law, but how about civil law? Does it ever play a role there? Well, it takes us to this week's case. It involves real people up in the state of Connecticut. And up there we had a woman, Carolyn Kortner. Carolyn was a very bright woman, admitted to Yale University, but unfortunately emotionally very troubled woman. Her emotional illness was of such an extent that her mother, Mary, was appointed her conservator, and mother looked after all of her affairs. Well, at one point in time, Carolyn became involved in a sexual relationship with a guy by the name of Craig Martis. That went on for some period of time. Mary wasn't happy with what was going on with her daughter and brought claim against Craig for assault and battery as a result of the sexual conduct. Well, the case went to trial. At trial, initially, Craig, through his attorneys, argued there was consent, that Carolyn was over 18 years of age, and therefore she consented, and that he, who was not responsible for any damages that she claimed. The jury said that's true. She was over 18, she could consent, and therefore they entered a verdict in favor of Craig. Went up on appeal. The court found in favor of Mary, sent it back down to be tried again. Second time around, the jury heard much of the same evidence, but this time a little more evidence about the mental illness of Carolyn, and they came away saying, Craig, guess what? Carolyn did not have the capacity to give consent because she was mentally ill, therefore you are responsible, and they voted in favor of an award of almost $600,000, $640,000 in damages. Okay, so what do we learn from this? What we learn from this is consent is extraordinarily important, both in civil law and criminal law. One of the reasons that most of us are aware that at age 18 is the first time you can become eligible for signing contracts and doing various other things is because you have to have sufficient mental awareness and understanding to become legally bound. This case demonstrates that in a civil case that someone didn't have that mental capacity, and therefore they were able to bring a claim for assault and battery. There's a difference between criminal cases and civil cases. We saw that in the O.J. Simpson case. We saw that when he was found not guilty in the criminal case, but he was found to be responsible for the damages in a civil case. The rules of law are different. They're handled differently. But one thing we learned from this case, and learned very importantly, is that in both areas of law, both civil and criminal, consent is extremely important, because without consent by someone who is of sufficient age and sufficient mental capacity to give consent, the contract can be null and void, and in this instance, initially by the jury, the award of damages would not take place because there was consent, and then when they found there wasn't consent, the individual, the defendant, was found responsible. Okay, we bring you this case as we bring cases every week so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.